Once again, we have major Sound of Freedom news. In today's video, we're going to discuss the following. First, we're going to look at the most recent box office numbers. Second, we're going to look at how more media is latching on and attacking the film, and they're attacking Tim Ballard. We're also going to look at, is Netflix and Amazon refusing the movie? We're also going to see an interview where Tim Ballard claps back at a CNN host. Something else that we're going to see is Tim Ballard responding to the QAnon conspiracy theories tied with the movie. And last but not least, the best part of the day, we're going to look at your comments in an updated part of our last video where I asked you guys, what are your experiences in seeing the movie? Have you witnessed any sabotage? Did the air go out? Did you get escorted out? Did the fire alarm go off? I have so many stories to share with you. Sound of Freedom, Coach's Archives, Part 5. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Coach here. Thank you so much for being here. If you'll please consider hitting that like button and letting YouTube know that you were here. It's the only way to let the algorithm know that we exist. Thank you very much. So we're actually going to open today's video with something very exciting, the latest box office performance. The film has actually passed the $40 million mark. Relevant reports, Sound of Freedom passes $40 million at the box office. And you can go here to thenumbers.com and see exactly where it falls. Sound of Freedom, Angel Studios, 7.2, right below Insidious, sitting at the number 2 spot, in 2,952 cinemas, and it's bringing in $2,471 per movie theater, which makes it the highest. It makes the highest amount of money per theater of any movie. Okay, Indiana Jones, even though it's number 1 at the box office, you see it's doing $600 less. It has grossed $41,668, $249 through 6 days of its release. And folks, those numbers are just going to continue to climb, especially with people like Variety and celebrities messaging out the video, talking about the video. And you know what? All of the hate that the movie is getting definitely doesn't hurt it at all. It's just going to make us have more resolve and actually go see the movie. And who knows, even critics of the movie who has never even seen it, maybe they check it out because of all of the talk about it. Yeah, I'm going to go see this crazy movie and see what this is all about, this conspiracy movie, and then they walk away touched and the Lord's work being fulfilled. In our last video, we talked about how many of the media entities are now jumping on board and attacking the film. They're attacking Sound of Freedom, such as Jezebel and The Guardian and other places. And here is one coming from Slate.com. Shame on them. Let's see what they say. Saying, I saw the grim child trafficking movie that's filling theaters. People acted like they were at Top Gun. And I'm sure he means Top Gun Maverick. Sound of Freedom, which stars Jim Caviezel as the controversy-plagued anti-child trafficking crusader Tim Ballard, was completed in 2018 and set for release by Fox the following year, until Disney bought the studio and shelved the movie. It certainly wasn't the only casualty of the acquisition, but the movie supporters have been encouraged to see something more insidious in its sidelining than a shift in corporate priorities. On its surface, the movie is directed by Alejandro Gomez Monteverde, is a straightforward search and rescue thriller in which Ballard, a special agent at the Department of Homeland Security, goes rogue to free a young girl from the clutches of a Colombian sex trafficking ring. But it arrived in theaters surrounded by a cloud of innuendo put forth by its star and its noisiest right-wing supporters, conspiratorial insinuations about who doesn't want this story to be told and what real-world traffickers are really up to. Well, first of all, Slate, let's get this right. This movie is not about right-wing and left-wing in politics, and I've seen that so many times in the comments on my videos about Sound of Freedom. This movie is about justice. This movie is about real-world, life-changing salvation, saving these kids and eliminating these predators. But this is what the media does, guys. When they look at this movie and they attack it the way that Slate is, saying, oh, it's just right-wing conspiracy garbage. That's basically what Slate is saying. When they do that, they discount the reality of the whole situation. They discount the evil. They don't even see it because they accept it. They might even be for it. And here's one of the main things that Slate is trying to do, along with several other media outlets. They are trying to discredit Tim Ballard. They're trying to discredit the actual story, saying here, in 2020, Vice concluded from an extensive investigation of Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad that the specific stories the group told of liberating children from sex traffickers were intensely cinematic, bold, heroic, and extremely difficult to fact check. That's a nice way of saying this information is slanted. This information is not true, not accurate. It's actually a lie. And I know that the majority of you watching this video don't believe that, just like I don't. You can close your eyes, but that doesn't mean evil disappears. This news comes to us from Distractify, and they say, according to several reports, the events depicted in the film are wildly exaggerated when it comes to Operation Underground Railroad, according to a 2020 report by Vice News. That's what we just talked about. Their involvement in the rescue of a trafficked woman was highly embellished in the film when compared to real-life events. The organization itself has been widely criticized for its loose operations and poor preparation when reacting to criminal activity. The real Tim Ballard has even gone on record lying about his involvement in these operations as depicted in the film. And here's one place I have a problem with that. You can't say somebody's lying in the media and then not give the evidence to support that or to prove that. And here they gave none. They just said, he's lying. Distractify continues. Given that the film borders more on propaganda than a dramatic retelling of harrowing events, it's no wonder that Disney might have been hesitant to attach their name to the film. We haven't even gotten to the QAnon stances held by the film's main star. So you see, folks, there's another shot at the movie and at Tim Ballard. So what's in the news about supposedly Netflix and Amazon actually refusing the movie? Let's check that out. Snopes reports that many online claim that the film's content was rejected by big studios and distribution networks like Amazon and Netflix until it finally found a distributor through Angel Studios. So I don't know who this person is right here, but they made the news. They say Disney, Amazon, Netflix did not want Sound of Freedom no to a movie about child trafficking. Thankfully, Angel Studios Incorporated stepped up. Producer Eduardo reveals this movie's journey to 2 million tickets sold. They continue here, and they even credit an anonymous TikTok user, saying that the user claimed Netflix and Amazon refused to promote Sound of Freedom on their platforms and urged subscribers to cancel their accounts if the companies continue to not show the film. Now I got to tell you guys, a lot of you have commented on my videos here covering Sound of Freedom, and they're saying, cancel Disney Plus, not giving any more money to Disney. Disney's an evil company, evil corporation. We're out. And I respect that. While Netflix and Amazon may have refused to distribute the film initially, as the film producer said, we have no publicly available information as to why they did it or whether it was due to a purported distaste over the subject matter of child trafficking. I'll keep watching and I'll give you updates on this as soon as I know. Up next, we have the man himself, Tim Ballard, the hero of the movie, played by Jim Caviezel. He actually claps back at CNN in some of their distasteful comments about him and the movie. Let's check it out.
What CNN said about you. Listen to this and have you respond.
Films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites, and only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down.
Where on earth is this guy getting that information? And when I see somebody like that garbage that he just spewed out of his mouth, it makes me think. I just have to assume this guy is not bothered by child sex trafficking in the slightest. In the slightest. If he's attacking Tim Ballard to that degree, that is sick. Okay, so let's see how Tim Ballard responds to that.
Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, as that guy's talking, and he's nobody's hero, by the way. I can't imagine any kid looking at him thinking he's going to help them out. But I think of the children that are really depicted in that film. I know what happened to them. Those children were the subjects of child rape videos. Those children were being sold for sex. In total, you see over 120 kids actually are rescued in the story that's being depicted, even if the movie doesn't get into all of them. These are real kids. I see them. I'm still friends with them. So it's embarrassing and frankly grotesque for this guy who knows nothing to start throwing out terms like QAnon and connecting it to a real story. I mean, they're not even thinking about it. So what are they thinking about?
Are they pro sex trafficking?
Children?
It's so bizarre. It's like they're pro sex trafficking. Like, leave the industry alone.
Exactly.
That's how it feels to me. It feels like there's some other agenda, because why do this?
And the more you hear about Sound of Freedom, the more you hear about QAnon. I know I say QAnon, my bad, guys. But the more you hear about QAnon, and every time you hear that, that's the opponents of the film, the opponents of Tim Ballard, and the people who essentially, hate to say it, are not bothered by child sex trafficking, or they're for it. In fact, those are the people saying, oh, this is QAnon conspiracy garbage, and they do that to just legitimize or delegitimize the entire movement, the entire focus, the entire movie. And it's evil, guys. Something else we want to look at is Tim Ballard is asked specifically about the QAnon conspiracies and it being linked to his movie, or however you want to say that. And here's what he had to say.
But there's been some criticism in the mainstream media where they suggest there's some sort of a connection to your movie and QAnon. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can't explain it, and neither can they. Every show I've seen, they just like to throw the word out, QAnon. Then they make zero connection to the actual story. It's very difficult to make that connection when it's actually based on a true story. Every kid is real in the story. Every bad guy is real. You know, they play with some timing and things like that to fit it all in. But where's the QAnon doctrine being spewed in the film, in the script? I have no idea.
Nope.
Because this is actually what it looks like. Because this is what happened. I was there, and several others were there to confirm. So this is just some other agenda. You know, I mean, who would want to get the backs or run interference for pedophiles and human traffickers? That's the more important question in all this. Why would you want to lie to push an agenda whose goal is to have children be in captivity? It's kind of sick.
Well said, Tim Ballard. It is sick. The last thing I want to do is give a big update to you guys on the sabotaging. In our last video update, we talked about the local theaters who were closing down due to the air conditioning not working, closing down due to the fire alarms. And so many of you have shared your stories about what happened when you went to go see this movie and how you were trying to be derailed by someone. Let's look at those stories now. Oddly, while the theater was air conditioned, our particular theater was not. Very curious. On the 5th of the AMC Metreon, San Francisco, California, we were scurried out due to fire alarm. I saw this movie last night. I have never seen this happen, but at my showing, 3 of the prime seating rows were double booked. People standing around all claiming they had the same seat assigned to them. Many of them walked out, I assume, to get refunds. Many of the other rows were empty, even though when I booked my seats, the theater looked to be sold out. When I went to see it, they told me to choose a seat and it looked like it was almost a sellout. I chose my seat, and when the movie started, the theater was almost empty. Do the math. AMC Theaters refunded money, saying there was no air conditioning. I went with my wife last Saturday to watch Sound of Freedom in Regal, The Loop, and Kissimmee, Florida, and we noticed that the AC was like warm. We thought it because that room was at least 80% full. When we leave the room, we noticed the cold outside of the lobby and bathrooms. We watched the film at West Mall 7 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the air was off as well. We didn't prepay our tickets though. Our AMC theater was playing Sounds of Freedom, and there was a report of an explosion under the theater, resulting in evacuation. Nothing was found. The theater had a fire alarm issue last Friday. We will try again tonight. We are in the liberal town of Gainesville, Florida. Anyone else? My wife and I bought the last 2 tickets ahead of time to see the movie at the Cinema 10 in British Columbia, Canada. When we got there, it was almost empty, maybe a dozen people, but we bought the last 2 tickets for that showing online. Something smells very fishy here in Canada as well. Arrowhead Theaters in Phoenix. AC was very low, uncomfortably low. I went to a theater and the movie has some really soft-spoken moments, and they put the movie in the theater beside the loudest movie that made it hard to hear. All you could hear was extra loud screaming and crashing noises. That made hearing so difficult. It upset me because no one complained or left their seats. We didn't want to miss anything. This was also in a North Carolina AMC theater. I went with my daughter yesterday, 7/9/23, Victorville, California, at the local mall. It was no air conditioning, was okay, not very hot. People brought blankets. We too brought jackets. Did not need them. I plan to meet friends at the Santa Rosa Roxy Theater on July the 4th at the 6:50 p.m. opening day showing of The Sound of Freedom. They had bought their tickets ahead of time, online. When I went to the theater's Fandango site to purchase my single ticket, the diagram showed that the only seats that were available were front row seats. I elected to go to an early afternoon show. The following day, my friends told me that the theater was in large part empty for the 6:50 p.m. showing that they had attended. Seems like foul play to me. Whoa, our theater did not have AC. My friend and I mentioned it to each other. I had brought a sweater because I'm always freezing in there. Coincidence? So I'm not about to read all this one, but thank you very much, Renee, for sending this one in. Long story short, they bought tickets. There were only a couple of seats available when they bought the tickets, and when they went in, there was only 10 people in the theater, counting themselves. Thank you guys so much for coming to Coach's Archives. I greatly appreciate it. Like, it has just been, I've said it in the last couple videos, this has been an absolute blessing. So many views, so many new subscribers, the channel is growing, and I gotta say, I honestly feel like this is just a blessing from the good Lord. I really do believe that. So thank you for being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join us here at the channel, and we're gonna have a lot of fun together in the coming days, in the coming months. See you on the next one.